Thanks for joining me today. This is Danny and welcome back to my modded 1.9 series. Today we are going to be playing with Psy, and since we've already played with Psy before, we'll be able to jump right into the fun stuff. We're going to make some really powerful mining spells, a spell that's kind of like the Thaumcraft Builder's Wand, and a bunch of other stuff. Now I did go through the tutorials in great detail in my FTB Unstable series. We're not going to do that today, we're just going to jump right in. Because if I hit the C key, and that's how you get started with Psy, you hit the C key, I get this, which says, Psy has found some data from a previous world, would you like to load it? Of course I would. If you choose to load it, you'll be instantly taken to level 25, otherwise the message won't show up again this session. There we go. So, it's wrong, it doesn't instantly take you there, you actually have to click learn. Many times, and then it'll take you through all the levels, at least all the levels that we've been through. Now there's a couple, now this one we've been through, I'm not sure why it's not loading that one for us. I think it is because there's something new. This one, memory management, is something new, and this allows us to save vectors and to access saved vectors, which is pretty cool. So that means that we can save vectors in like a memory slot when we're doing one spell, and then later we can run another spell and have access to that same vector. So, you know, for instance, we could save a block in the world or a location of a block in the world or something like that, and have some kind of spell that that runs on that same block or whatever. So we'll have to do one of those. I think there may have been, what was this, detection and focus? I think this one is new as well. Switch focus slot. That's where because normally with Psy, when you place blocks, it'll just place whatever blocks are to the right of your CAD, which we'll get into in a minute. You can now actually specify which slot you wanted to place blocks from. So let's just get started right away. To get started, if we've already gone through the tutorials, all we have to do is make a CAD assembler. So we'll just make a piston, and we're going to need some more oak planks. Wow. Oh, I just made 22 pistons. That was really dumb. Crap. Oh, that's okay. We still have a lot of iron. Wow. Good thing we only had so much wood. Okay, so here's our CAD assembler. 22. Here's our CAD assembler. That's the first thing we're going to need. And then we can make our iron CAD assembly. So we make a CAD assembler, and then we make a CAD assembly, so that we can make a CAD, which is a casting assistance device. And this thing, we can only do one thing with it. And that, oh, look at this. Our refined storage system is now sorting correctly. So it's when it says ascending, it's actually sorting ascending. So we'll switch that around and grab some redstone. 100, how do I get 131? Wow, weird. Okay. Let's just do, I don't know, let's do 16 redstone, and we're going to turn that into, wow, how do I have 5,000? Oh, look at that. Okay. We're going to turn that into Psy dust. Now, normally you would start out without any Psy energy, but because we were able to go through all the tutorials, we have a bunch of Psy energy. So then we are going to use that Psy dust to craft a spell programmer. Hooray, this is where all the magic's going to happen. Right there. Oh, you might notice that I have empty spots here. I moved my furnace stuff up there on that shelf. It looks a little precarious up there, but I think the shelf is going to hold. I think we'll be okay. Oh, and I don't have any automation with pulling this stuff out, but that's okay. Then I get XP for it. All right, so here's our spell programmer. So let's get started with, well, actually, let's get started with a decent CAD. So first, with our generic CAD, we can turn it back into our iron CAD assembly, and then we can use it to build like a decent CAD. So to build a decent CAD, we're going to need a basic CAD core. And this is what we need some more of our Psy dust for. That's all we can make right now is the basic, because the overclocked requires a Psy metal ingots, which we will have access to very soon. And then we'll need everything basic, a basic CAD slot. And this is really just going to be a temporary CAD, because we will be able to almost immediately upgrade this guy. And then a colorizer. We're not going to bother with the colorizer with this one because we're not going to have it for very long. So here's our stats. We have an efficiency of 70%, which means that our spells are going to cost, you know, that much more than the base cost. Our potency is 100. That's how powerful a spell we can have. The complexity is 10. That means we can have 10 spell pieces. Our projection is 1. That is how many tricks we can have in our spell. Our bandwidth is 5, meaning that we can use up to 5 spaces, either wide or tall, for our spell. And our overflow is 100, so we have basically a buffer of 100 psi energy. So the save vector allows us to save a vector in kind of a permanent memory. And the number of memory slots that we get is related to how many sockets we have. I think it's like 1/3. So in our case, we probably would only have 1 memory slot, and they're numbered starting with 1. So in memory slot number 1, we're going to store a vector that is our current, the caster's current location. So just real briefly, I mean, like I said, I already went through psi in excruciating detail in my FTB Unstable 1.8 series. There were 3 episodes in a row that I did. I went through all the tutorials and I explained things very thoroughly, but just very briefly, I'm just going to explain how this works. So the trick is the thing that actually does stuff. So we have all these different spell pieces, and many of them are tricks. And that's the tricks are the things that actually do things. And then they take some kind of information. So in this case, this trick is saving a vector, and it requires 2 pieces of information. One of them is a number, which is the memory slot. And we're telling that the number is above it. And the other is a target, which is going to be a vector in this case, the vector that it's going to save. And that vector is going to be an entity position. So an entity position returns a vector. It gives us a vector of whatever entity we give it as a target. So in this case, on the left side, we're telling it is the target. The target is a selector, which is us, caster. The caster is the person casting the spell. Our spell bullets are where we store our spells in our CAD, and we have 4 slots. So I may as well make 4 bullets right away. And we're going to take a bullet and we're going to right click, and then we're going to go in here and stick that bullet inside our CAD in one of its 4 slots. And then we're going to stand, like, let's say we stand right here. Yay! So we just leveled up. We just ran a spell that didn't do anything visible, but it just saved that spot we were standing at in a memory slot. Whether we're actually going to use that or not, I don't know. But now we can move on to the next tutorial. So secondary operators, learn. So here, the little red one, that's the one that we have to do before we can move on to the next one. I'm just going to do these really quickly just so that we can get all the tutorials and have access to all the pieces. So that was just the square, the operator square. An operator is something that does some kind of a calculation. So in this case, I'm just going to have it square the number 5, and then the trick will be debug. We'll use the debug trick. So whenever you want to do something or whenever you want to get something out of the way that you don't really want to do anything with, you can just use the trick debug. So if we hit debug, it shows us 25 in the lower left hand corner, because square root of 5, the square of 5 is 5, and then we've leveled up. So we should now have, now we have to do the eidos reversal, even though we've already done that one before. So eidos, what? Oh, I didn't click learn, did I? Boop, okay. I promise we'll get into some fun stuff very soon. We just have to do these. Okay, so let's just have it reverse us 5 seconds. So we're going to tell it that, okay. And then we can just right click and it'll change that. So I forgot which one this is. This is the one that, if we go over here, it'll take us back to where we were 5 seconds ago. Nice. Which can be fun if you're like let's say you're falling. I'm falling. And then it's going to take you back. where you were 5 seconds ago. There. So we're done. We're through all the tutorials. First thing we have to do is get into our infusions so that we can make a better CAD. So in this case, all we're doing is infusion. And that is going to allow us to make... Let's just grab a half a stack of gold and throw it and then infuse it into metal. Hooray! So now we can make our next tier of stuff. So we can do an overclocked. For this tier, actually, we only have one choice of the core. Oh, of course, we're going to need a CAD assembly as well. We'll do the metal CAD, and we can do the signaling CAD's socket, which is going to allow us to hold 6 bullets and a bandwidth of 7, so we'll now be able to have spells that are 7 by 7. So we do have 2 choices of sockets. This one has a bandwidth of 7 and holds 6 bullets. This one has a bandwidth of 6 but holds 8 bullets. I would actually rather have the higher bandwidth because we're kind of going to need that. And then our battery, we only have one choice of battery that we can make with metal, and that is the extended CAD battery. So that's that. Now you'll notice something. All of a sudden, our psi energy disappeared, and that is because we have 2 CADs. We cannot have 2 CADs. We can only have 1 in our inventory at any given time. So I'm just going to take the bullet out of that one, and we're going to put it in here, and we will never look at it again. It was just a stepping stone for us, and we really have no use for it anymore. So now let's get into greater infusion, which will allow us to make an even better one. Now normally you wouldn't progress through this quickly, but because, like I said, I already did the tutorials, and we already have the resources that... Wow, I only have 16 diamonds. I guess we'll use 8 of them. We'll have more diamonds very soon, and Sai will help us with that. What's going on? Did I not select it? Oh, I have no bullets. I thought Oh, I guess I didn't put the bullet in there. Okay. So we put the bullet in there, and remember before I right-clicked on this thing with the bullet? Well, we can also right-click on it with the CAD if we have a bullet selected. So that should take care of that for us. So Control Q, and okay, that must not have worked. I must not have had it selected. So I have to select the bullet, and then boom. There we go. So now we have side gems. So we can make some even cooler stuff. Now we can make, well, I guess I'll have to make another. Do I have to make? I think I have to make another one, don't I? I don't think there's a way for us to pull out the stuff that we've already put in here. Yeah. But let's just get the bullet out right away. I wonder, can you do it in here? No. That's going to go to waste, unfortunately, but I'm going to make... Oh, wait a minute now. So now we have a couple of choices that we can make now that we have the side gems. We can go with the hyperclocked CAD core. That's going to give us a complexity of 32 and a projection of 6, I think. Oh, and then this one is complexity of 26 with a projection of 7. I'd rather go with the higher complexity. And then this guy, nope. This one is the huge CAD. This guy holds 12 sockets, a bandwidth of 8. And transmissive, bandwidth 9, sockets 10. Okay, actually, I'd rather go with the transmissive. It's all about bandwidth for me, because I like making big spells. And then the ultra dense battery. And the side metal CAD assembly. Now this is going to be the top tier that we're going to be able to make today. There's also the ebony and ivory. However, you do have to make those in the end. There we go. So this one's a lot more powerful. We can do potency of 250. Efficiency is 80%. Complexity is 32. Projection 6. So now we can make much more complicated spells. So the first thing I want to do is grab some of my spells from previous ones. And as you may know, when you make a spell, you can export it to a clipboard, and it just exports it to a JSON, some JSON text. And we can import it then. So I was just exporting it and then pasting the JSON text into a text file. Here's my first one, and it's place block. This is a very simple spell. All it does is it places a block where I'm looking. It's doing a single trick, and that's a trick of placing a block. The place block takes a vector, which is a location vector. It's basically just an XYZ value of a position of a block in the world. And what I'm giving it is a sum of my vector raycast of where I'm looking. So this basically, the vector raycast, it takes a position and it takes a ray, which is basically a directional vector. And the position that it's taking is my position. So here's selector caster, entity position. And the ray is my look direction. So this, the selector caster, entity look, is just going to give you a vector that's pointing in the direction that you're looking. We don't really have to know how it does that or how the math works. It does it for us. So here's our vector raycast that gives us the block that we're looking at. And then the vector axis raycast is giving us the side of the block that we're looking at. So we have to add that to the block that we're looking at in order to place the block on a block adjacent to the one we're looking at. Otherwise, it's going to try to place a block in the same block, and we don't want that, of course. So there we go, place block. So what this is going to do is it's going to take, let's say, actually let's grab something that's easy to break, like, I don't know, sand maybe. Actually, everything's easy for us to break with Psi. But what's great about this, so look, I mean, we can place a block, right? Hooray, nice. But of course, we could just do that by right-clicking, and it's just as easy, right? So what's the big deal? Here's the big deal. We can place blocks very far away. I think it's up to 64 blocks away. So that's that, and that's just a very simple spell. Another fairly simple spell, we could actually change this right away to be a break block spell. But in this case, we want to break the block we're looking at. We don't want to break the block next to the one we're looking at. Like for this, we wanted to place the block next to the block that we're looking at, on the side that we're looking. So in this case, all we need is the vector raycast of our look vector. So we don't even need this, 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 or this, or this. We can just go directly to there. So that's it. That is break block. And this is like my go-to spell, because what's really great about this thing. So we hold down the C key to select our spell, break block. What's great about this spell is that it breaks blocks instantly. Like there's no delay, there's no swinging at it with a pick, and of course it breaks blocks from very far away. And then the only problem is we have to come down here and collect the pieces. But we actually have a fix for that too. We can add a magnet to the spell. Now this is one of my favorite spells. This is a 3x3 spell. It allows us to break a 3x3 similar to a hammer or excavator or something like that, or our drill, our actually additions drill. So here we go. We can do some mining and check how fast this thing can go, because it breaks blocks instantaneously. We can do some serious mining with this thing, although it does, you know, as soon as we run out of psi energy, it stops. So that's the limitation. That's, I guess, the balance point. However, it's, you know what? It's still not as fast as our drill, which is freaking insane. Oh, we don't have our 3x3 in there. Ah. Our drill is still faster, but the drill requires RF, whereas psi energy is totally renewable. It's always replenishing itself. We don't even have to do anything to get it. It just comes. And of course, we can also do this from far away. Oh, now we're out of the radius. Hey. Oh, diamonds. Nice. Now that it's nighttime, I can do one of my other favorite spells. Explode enemy. Oh, crap. I need to unload a little bit. I got lots of goodies. Explode enemy. I'm not going to use it here because it does what it sounds like it does. It explodes enemies. What it actually does is it causes an explosion at the location of your enemy. Or the nearest mob, the nearest hostile mob, to where you're looking. Ah, crap. Ah, I hate this thing. There we go. But it is a bit destructive. I'm dual wielding, check that out. I'm not really, it's just a visual glitch. It's kind of funny though. If you swap with your let's just do this just to get rid of that glitch. Wait, hey, that didn't even work. Weird. There we go. Okay. I do have a flight spell. It no longer lasts very long. And it's a bit choppy now too, but basically... Oh, whoops. Wrong spell. Fly. It basically moves you in the direction that you're looking, but it uses up your psi energy very quickly. Like, I would say like probably 4 or 5 times faster than it used to. Since the move player spell was, or this new player trick had been nerfed a little bit. It costs a lot more than it used to. But this is basically it. All it's doing is it's an add motion to the selector caster, or to the caster, in the direction that you're looking. Plus, wait, in the sum of the direction that you're looking, plus 1 in the y direction. So that it basically just keeps you off the ground, and then with a speed of 2. So the psi armor will cast psi spells on some event. So these are like event-based cells. The helmet actually has several different options that you can use by adding the sensors. There's a light sensor where it'll cast a spell when the light changes. There's a water sensor so that when you go into water. There's heat sensor, like if you fall into lava or something. There's a stress sensor, so when you're losing hearts quickly. The chest plate will run an event or run a spell when you take damage, and then the boots will run an event or run a spell when you jump. So the leggings will run a spell every tick. We can put our leggings in here and then put that in there. And then we're going to need a Exosuit controller in order to tell it what spells to cast. So, oh, this is already on. Okay. So we're just walking. We're just walking here. Check it out, man. We're walking. We can walk fast. Whoa, what happened? Ah! Darn it. We can't walk backwards, though. But we can jump. And we can keep walking. So what's going on is... Here, let's turn this off for a second. No, that's not what I want. It's this. While we're holding this, we can select the spell for our armor. So what's happening is we're conjuring these blocks. And as we walk, oh no, it's still being conjured. It's being conjured in the direction that we're facing, +1 down at our feet level. And this is a sustainable spell. as you can see, if you look at our psi energy, it's hardly using any psi energy, and our energy is actually replenishing as quickly as it's being used. And then to turn it off, we just select an empty spot, and then it should stop. Yeah, then it stops conjuring the blocks. And then eventually the blocks will fade away. And we can set the duration that the blocks will stay in the spell as well. Let's take a quick peek at it. This is conjure block. That's basically makes those translucent blocks. The position is a sum of our axial look vector plus our position minus 2 in the y direction, because our position is the position of our head. We don't want it conjuring blocks at our head. We want them conjuring, in fact, we don't want them conjuring it at our feet. We want it conjuring below our feet. So that's 2 blocks below our position. And then it's going to hold it for 200, I think that's 200 ticks. So boom. We can replace blocks. This is going to be a go-to spell for me now. Break block, place block, that's all it is. And Psi always runs spells from left to right and top to bottom. So it's going to look for tricks first. And in this case, it finds the trick break block first. That's the first trick that it'll find. And then it will grab whatever information it needs in order to run that spell. So it's getting the vector raycast, so the block I'm looking at, of the vector raycast of my entity look and entity position. So that gives us the block I'm looking at. And then this one, it's taking the exact same position and it's doing a place block. And it's happening after the break block. Nice. That's not really what I came over here for. Sure, it would be nice to have an easy way to get across this river. Oh, whoops. That's not going to make it any easier. Hooray! What? Oh, I'm out of blocks. Darn it. Hooray! Now what this guy is going to do is it is going to place the blocks right to where I'm standing. If you've ever used Thaumcraft's builders focus, it basically does that. So it will place, you can click on a block. Oh, whoops. And it'll place a block up to your position. It is. It's still a little messy. I could make this more compact, but this is just how this is the state it was in when I got it to work. So basically we're doing a place block sequence, which takes a position and a target. The position is the first block that we place. So that is actually, to get the position, we're doing the same thing we did for the regular place block, and that's just getting our vector raycast of our position, the caster position, and the entity look. So that gives us the block we're looking at. And then we sum that, we add to that the vector axis raycast, so the side of the block we're looking at, so that we get the empty block on the side of the block that we're looking. And then the target, this is basically how many blocks are we going to place. To get that, we're doing a vector project. I'm subtracting the block I'm looking at from my position, and then I am projecting that with the axis raycast. So that gives me basically the number of blocks between me in a single direction and that, so that it does what you saw. One more spell. That is the magnet spell. So this is basically just doing a mass exodus. It's using the mass exodus trick, and it's taking nearby items that I'm looking at. Again, we're using the vector raycast to get the block that I'm looking at. So all the nearby items within 20 blocks of the item, or of the block that I'm looking at, we have a mass exodus. Target is the nearby items. The position is my position. Constant 4. what was the constant again? Oh, the speed. Okay, actually that might be a little too fast, but we'll see. We need our CAD. I always leave it in there. And magnet. So this will be nice when we break blocks from far away. Whoops. Okay, that worked. Then we take our 3x3 spell and mine a bunch of blocks. Okay, so now we're out of range. Now we grab our magnets. Nice. Did we get it all? We got it all. Wow. That's awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. That is it for Sci today. If you do have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. We're either going to get into Botania or Blood Magic in the next episode. I think I'm actually going to get into Botania. I just want to get started with Botania because I want Step Assist. And the quickest way that I know of to get Step Assist is the Sojourner Sash. And then after that, I think we're going to get into Blood Magic. See if we can catch up to where we left off in our last series where we had to kind of leave things hanging. And I hope you join me for that. So thanks for watching.